The coin in your pocket could be worth far more than a brand new luxury car, and almost nobody realizes it. Before you spend another old penny, stop for just a minute, because one tiny 1936 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark could be hiding an incredible surprise. Most people think pennies are practically worthless. They get tossed into jars, left in cup holders, or forgotten in drawers for years. But every once in a while, an ordinary-looking penny turns out to be something collectors have been searching for. That's exactly why today's coin is so exciting. Today we're uncovering the mystery of the 1936 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark. Is it really worth $1 million? What makes one penny worth only a cent while another sells for thousands, or even more? And most importantly, could you already own one without even knowing it? Stay with me until the end, because one small detail most people completely ignore could make the difference between an ordinary penny and one worth a life-changing amount of money. The story begins in 1936, during one of the toughest decades in American history. The country was still recovering from the Great Depression. Every penny mattered back then. Millions of Lincoln wheat pennies were produced, and they quickly became part of everyday life. If your coin has no mint mark, that simply means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Unlike Denver coins with a D or San Francisco coins with an S, Philadelphia pennies of that time usually carried no mint mark at all. Now here's where things get interesting. Just because a 1936 penny has no mint mark doesn't automatically make it valuable. In fact, millions of them were made. But hidden among those millions are a few special coins that collectors are willing to pay serious money for. So what separates an ordinary penny from an extraordinary one? The answer lies in condition, rarity, and mint errors. Let's start with condition. Imagine two identical pennies made on the same day in 1936. One spent decades being passed from person to person, scratched, worn down, and damaged. The other somehow remained untouched, stored safely for generations. Even though they started the same, their values today are worlds apart. A heavily circulated 1936 no mint mark wheat penny might only be worth a few cents to a couple of dollars. But a brilliant uncirculated example with sharp details, original red color, and almost nowhere can be worth hundreds, or even thousands of dollars depending on its certified grade. Now don't stop watching, because condition is only part of the story. The real excitement begins when we talk about mint errors. Every coin is made by machines, but no manufacturing process is perfect. Occasionally, mistakes happen, and those mistakes create some of the most valuable coins in the collecting world. One of the most famous possibilities is a double die. This happens when the design is accidentally impressed more than once at slightly different angles during die creation. The result can be doubled letters, numbers, or Lincoln's features. At first glance, the doubling may seem tiny, but under magnification, it becomes much easier to spot. Collectors love genuine double die coins because they weren't created on purpose. They're accidental treasures. Another possibility is an off-center strike. Instead of being perfectly aligned, the blank planchet shifts during striking, leaving part of the design missing. Depending on how dramatic the error is, these coins can become extremely valuable. Then there are die cracks. A cracked die can leave raised lines across the surface of a coin. While small cracks may add only a little value, major die breaks can attract serious collector attention. You'll also want to look for lamination errors. Sometimes the metal itself had flaws before the coin was struck. This can cause parts of the surface to peel or separate, creating a unique appearance that collectors find fascinating. And don't overlook clipped planchets. If part of the metal blank was missing before striking, the finished coin will have a noticeable curved section cut away. These unusual mistakes often command strong premiums. Now here's something many people miss. Cleaning an old coin can destroy its value. Sounds backwards, doesn't it? You'd think making a coin shiny would increase its price. Actually, professional collectors prefer original surfaces. Even gentle polishing can leave microscopic scratches that dramatically reduce value. So if you discover a 1936 wheat penny, resist the temptation to clean it. Leave it exactly as you found it. That single decision could save hundreds or even thousands of dollars in potential value. Now let's talk about grading. Professional grading companies examine coins under strict standards. They evaluate wear, luster, strike quality, eye appeal, and preservation. A difference of just one grade can sometimes mean hundreds or even thousands of dollars. That's why experienced collectors always recommend having unusually nice or unusual coins authenticated before selling them. Here's another fascinating detail. Original red color matters. Freshly struck copper pennies have a bright reddish appearance. Over time, they naturally darken into brown. Coins that somehow retained most of their original red color for nearly 90 years are much scarcer. Those beautiful red examples often bring much higher prices than darker coins in similar condition. Now you may be wondering, can a 1936 no-mint Mark Lincoln wheat penny really be worth $1 million? Here's the truth. There are no widely verified public sales showing a normal 1936 no-mint Mark wheat penny selling for $1 million. However, exceptionally rare coins with extraordinary combinations of factors, such as unique mint errors, one-of-a-kind characteristics, or historically important provenance, can command astonishing prices in the rare coin market. Most valuable 1936 no-mint Mark pennies sell anywhere from a few dollars for circulated examples to hundreds or several $1,000s for exceptional certified specimens. Rare error coins can sell for significantly more depending on the type, rarity, and collector demand. That's why you should never believe every viral headline claiming every old penny is worth a fortune. But here's the exciting part. You don't need every 1936 penny to be worth $1 million. You only need to find one truly exceptional coin. Think about that. Some of the most valuable discoveries have happened because someone looked through an old family collection, inherited a jar of coins, or checked pocket change that everyone else ignored. That's what makes coin collecting so exciting. Treasure doesn't always come buried in the ground. Sometimes it's sitting inside an old coffee can in your grandparents' garage, or inside a forgotten piggy bank, or tucked away in a drawer you've never opened. Here's a quick checklist before you put any 1936 wheat penny aside. First, confirm the date is 1936. Next, check for no mint mark beneath the date. Then inspect Lincoln's portrait and the lettering for unusual doubling. Look carefully around the edge for off-center strikes or clipped planchets. Examine both sides for cracks, unusual raised lines, or missing metal. Check the overall condition. Does it still have sharp wheat lines? Strong lettering? Original color? Minimal wear? If the answer is yes, you may have something worth a closer look. And remember, never rush to sell the first offer you receive. Some people unknowingly sell valuable coins for just a few dollars because they didn't realize what they had. Taking a little extra time to research or have the coin professionally evaluated could make a huge difference. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever searched through your old pennies? Maybe you inherited a coin collection from a family member. Maybe you found a wheat penny in pocket change. Or maybe today's video inspired you to finally check that old jar of coins sitting on a shelf. Let everyone know in the comments what the oldest Lincoln wheat penny you've ever found is. You never know. Someone in this community might recognize something special. And here's one final thought before you go. Every rare coin discovery starts exactly the same way. Someone decides to take a closer look. The next incredible find could be hiding in your home right now, waiting for someone curious enough to notice the tiny details everyone else overlooked. So before you spend another old penny, check the date, inspect the mint mark, and examine it carefully. That simple habit could turn an ordinary moment into an unforgettable discovery. If you enjoy uncovering hidden money secrets, rare coin discoveries, and valuable Lincoln wheat pennies that most people overlook, make sure you subscribe and come back for the next video. You never know which forgotten coin could become your next amazing find. Wait, before you spend your next penny, you need to hear this. A single 1940s Lincoln wheat penny could be hiding in an old coin jar, a family collection, or even your pocket change, and the right one has sold for astonishing amounts. Most people overlook it because it looks like an ordinary penny. But today, you'll discover why collectors search for this coin, what makes certain examples so valuable, and the tiny details that could turn a 1-cent coin into the find of a lifetime. Think about it. Millions of pennies have passed through American hands over the decades. People toss them into jars, leave them in drawers, or spend them without a second thought. But every now and then, one special coin slips through unnoticed. That's exactly why coin collectors constantly check old wheat pennies. The 1940s Lincoln wheat penny was struck at the San Francisco Mint. The small S mint mark beneath the date tells you where it was made. At first glance, it doesn't seem unusual. In fact, millions were produced. So why would anyone pay hundreds, thousands, or even talk about life-changing money for one? Here's where the mystery begins. Not every 1940s penny is valuable. Most are worth only a small premium over face value. But the rarest examples are completely different. Their value depends on condition, color, strike quality, and in some cases, unusual mint errors that collectors fight to own. Imagine opening an old coin album from your grandparents and finding a bright, untouched 1940s wheat penny that looks almost brand new. That single moment could completely change how you look at every penny you've ever ignored. One of the biggest reasons collectors love the 1940s penny is its sharp strike. The San Francisco Mint was known for producing coins with impressive details during many years of the wheat cent series. On the best examples, Lincoln's hair appears crisp, the wheat ears on the reverse are bold, and every tiny detail stands out beautifully. But here's something many people never realize. Condition is everything. A worn 1940s penny may only be worth a few cents or a few dollars. But a coin that somehow escaped circulation for more than 80 years can become incredibly desirable. Collectors call these mint state coins, meaning they never experienced everyday wear. Now imagine two identical-looking pennies. One spent decades in circulation buying groceries, candy, and newspapers. The other stayed protected inside a collection since the day it was minted. One is ordinary. The other could attract serious collector interest. That's the difference a single decision made decades ago can create. Now let's make this even more interesting. Color matters too. Copper coins slowly change color over time. Most old pennies become brown after years of exposure to air and handling. Some remain reddish-brown, but the rarest and most valuable examples still display their original bright red mint color. Collectors classify them as brown, red-brown, or red. That little word, red, can make an enormous difference in value. A beautiful red 1940s penny with exceptional preservation can sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction because so few survive in that condition. Now you're probably wondering, could one actually be worth $1 million? Here's the truth. A regular 1940s Lincoln wheat penny is not normally worth $1 million. Claims that every 1940s penny is worth millions are misleading. However, truly extraordinary coins with unique characteristics, major mint errors, or historic significance can command astonishing prices in the rare coin market. Record-breaking sales in the coin world usually involve extremely rare error coins, one-of-a-kind discoveries, or coins graded at the absolute highest levels by professional grading services. That's why experienced collectors don't simply look at the date. They examine every tiny detail. Speaking of details, let's talk about mint errors. This is where things become really exciting. During the minting process, mistakes occasionally happen. A coin could be struck off-center. It might have a dramatic die crack. Sometimes double details appear because of problems with the die. Other times, the strike may be weak or unusual. Most minting mistakes are minor. But major, dramatic errors are another story. Collectors love authentic mint errors because they're accidental, limited, and impossible to recreate exactly. Imagine discovering a 1940s wheat penny with a spectacular off-center strike while searching through an old coffee can full of coins. That ordinary afternoon suddenly becomes unforgettable. Another thing to inspect carefully is the mint mark itself. Look closely beneath the date. Does the S appear normal? Is it damaged? Could it actually be part of a rare variety? These are the kinds of questions experienced collectors ask every time they inspect an old wheat penny. Now here's something even more fascinating. Many valuable coins are accidentally cleaned. That sounds like a good thing, right? Actually, it's one of the biggest mistakes people make. A shiny coin isn't always a valuable coin. Cleaning removes the original surface and often lowers collector value dramatically. That's why experts recommend leaving old coins exactly as you found them. No polishing. No scrubbing. No chemical cleaners. Sometimes dirt is better than damage. Now picture this. You're visiting relatives. Someone brings out an old cookie tin filled with wheat pennies collected decades ago. Most people would glance inside and lose interest after a few seconds. But now you know better. You'd start checking dates. looking for mint marks, watching for bright red color, searching for unusual errors, inspecting every coin one at a time. Because hidden treasures don't announce themselves. They hide in plain sight. One reason wheat pennies remain so popular is their connection to American history. A 1940s penny was made before the United States entered World War II. It existed during one of the most important periods in American history. Think about all the hands that may have held it over more than 8 decades. That's part of the magic of coin collecting. You're not just holding money, you're holding history. Now let's talk numbers. Many circulated 1940s wheat pennies sell for anywhere from a few cents to several dollars depending on condition. Nice uncirculated examples can reach much higher prices. Certified mint state red coins have sold for hundreds and, in top grades, several $1,000s at major auctions. Coins with rare mint errors or exceptional qualities may command even stronger premiums because collectors compete aggressively for the finest examples available. That's why grading matters so much. Professional grading companies evaluate authenticity, condition, and preservation. A difference of just one grade point can sometimes mean hundreds, or even thousands of dollars in value. Imagine believing your coin is worth $20. Then a professional examination reveals it's actually one of the finest known examples. Those surprises happen more often than many people realize. Here's another tip. Never assume a dirty old penny has no value. Some of the greatest discoveries started inside forgotten jars, estate sales, flea markets, inherited collections, and even pocket change. People overlook coins every single day. That's exactly what creates opportunities for collectors willing to pay attention. So the next time someone tells you pennies aren't worth picking up, remember this story. Most pennies are ordinary, but a few are extraordinary. The challenge is knowing the difference. And that's exactly why education matters more than luck. The more you learn about mint marks, strike quality, color, grading, and mint errors, the greater your chances of recognizing something special before everyone else does. Think about how many old piggy banks, dresser drawers, and family collections still haven't been searched carefully. Some have been sitting untouched for decades. Who knows what's hiding inside? Maybe nothing. Or maybe the next incredible collector discovery. That's what keeps millions of collectors searching every day. Because every coin tells a story, every date has history, every mint mark has meaning, and every search carries the possibility of an unforgettable surprise. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found a wheat penny in your pocket change or inherited an old coin collection from a family member? Let everyone know in the comments because your discovery might inspire someone else to check their own coins tonight. And before you spend another old penny, take just a few extra seconds to inspect it. Look at the date. Find the mint mark. Check the color. Watch for unusual errors. That tiny copper coin could be far more interesting than it first appears. If you enjoy uncovering hidden money secrets, forgotten treasures, and rare coins that could be worth far more than their face value, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week, we explore fascinating coins that many people overlook, and your next great discovery might already be waiting in your collection. Until next time, happy hunting, and never underestimate the value of an old wheat penny. What if I told you that a plain-looking 1941 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark could be hiding in an old coin jar right now, and some rare examples have sold for life-changing money? Before you spend another penny, you need to see this. Most people walk past pennies every day without giving them a second thought. They sit in drawers, piggy banks, coffee cans, and old collections collecting dust. But every once in a while, a coin that looks completely ordinary turns out to be worth hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars. And that's exactly why collectors are so obsessed with the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny. Now, let's clear something up right away. Millions of 1941 Lincoln pennies were produced. In fact, they were made in huge numbers. So if you find a normal circulated 1941 penny, it probably won't make you rich overnight. But here's where things get interesting. Certain rare varieties, high-grade examples, and error coins from 1941 can be worth astonishing amounts of money. And the crazy part? Most people have absolutely no idea what to look for. The story begins in 1941, just before America entered World War II. The country was changing rapidly. Factories were busy, the economy was growing, and Lincoln wheat pennies were flowing through the pockets of millions of Americans. These coins featured the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and 2 wheat stalks on the reverse. If your coin has no mint mark beneath the date, it means it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. At first glance, that may not sound special. But stay with me, because what separates a common penny from a valuable one often comes down to tiny details that most people never notice. Imagine finding a penny that looks old and worn. Most people would toss it into a change jar without thinking twice. A collector, however, looks closer. They examine the date, the lettering, the color, the strike quality, and any unusual features that might reveal a hidden treasure. And that's where the mystery of the 1941 no mint mark penny begins. One of the biggest factors in value is condition. A heavily worn coin may only be worth a small amount over face value. But a coin that somehow survived more than 80 years in nearly perfect condition can become incredibly valuable. Think about it. How many pennies from 1941 have escaped decades of circulation, pocket wear, scratches, and damage? Not many. That's why collectors compete fiercely for high-grade examples. When professional grading companies examine a coin, they assign it a grade based on preservation and appearance. The closer a coin is to looking exactly as it did when it left the mint, the higher the grade. And when it comes to the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny, top-grade coins can command surprisingly large prices. But condition is only the beginning. Now let's talk about something that gets collectors truly excited. Mint errors. These are mistakes that occurred during the coin's production process. Normally, mistakes lower the value of products. In coin collecting, the opposite often happens. The rarer the mistake, the more valuable the coin can become. Some 1941 pennies have been discovered with striking errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, double details, or other unusual characteristics that make them stand out from the millions of ordinary examples. Imagine a machine striking coins at incredible speed. A tiny problem develops. Maybe the die shifts slightly. Maybe the planchet isn't positioned correctly. Maybe a defect forms on the die itself. The result? A coin unlike thousands of others. And collectors love that. Now here's something many people miss. Color matters. Lincoln wheat pennies are often classified into 3 color categories: brown, red-brown, and red. A bright, original red penny that has maintained its fresh mint color for decades is far rarer than a brown coin that circulated heavily. Why? Because copper changes over time. Exposure to air, moisture, and handling gradually darkens the surface. Finding a 1941 penny that still displays strong original red color is incredibly difficult. And when collectors find one in exceptional condition, the bidding can become intense. This is where things start getting exciting. Imagine 2 pennies from 1941 sitting side by side. Both have no mint mark. Both appear similar. Yet one might be worth only a small amount while the other could sell for hundreds or thousands of dollars. The difference often comes down to details invisible to the average person. That's why experienced collectors use magnifying glasses and specialized lighting. They're hunting for clues. Tiny clues. Valuable clues. And sometimes those clues lead to incredible discoveries. Over the years, stories have surfaced about collectors searching through old family collections and finding forgotten coins that turned out to be worth far more than expected. A dusty coin album, an inherited collection, a forgotten jar in the attic. These ordinary places have produced extraordinary finds. Now let's build the suspense even further. What is the actual value of a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark? The answer depends entirely on the coin. A worn example might sell for only a modest premium. A nicer, uncirculated example can be worth significantly more. A high-grade certified coin can reach impressive values. And rare error varieties can push prices even higher. That's why one person may look at a 1941 penny and see a few cents, while another sees a collector's prize. But here's the part that keeps coin hunters awake at night. Every year, people unknowingly spend valuable coins. Think about that. Rare coins get mixed into circulation. Collections are broken apart. Inherited treasures are sold in bulk. Valuable pieces disappear because their owners never realized what they had. Could a rare 1941 penny still be hiding in circulation somewhere? Probably not many. But could one be hiding in an old collection, a coin jar, or a forgotten box? Absolutely. And that's exactly why collectors keep searching. Now let's talk about the dream scenario. The scenario every coin hunter hopes for. You discover a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark. First, it looks ordinary. Then you notice unusually sharp details. The surfaces appear remarkably clean. The color remains vibrant. You decide to have it professionally graded. Weeks later, the results arrive. The coin receives an elite grade. Suddenly, what seemed like a simple penny becomes a highly desirable collectible. That's the moment collectors live for. The moment when history, rarity, and condition come together. And while stories online often claim that certain pennies are worth millions of dollars, it's important to understand reality. Most 1941 Lincoln wheat pennies are not worth millions. However, exceptional examples, rare errors, and top condition specimens can still be worth substantial amounts that surprise even experienced collectors. The real lesson isn't that every old penny is a fortune. The real lesson is that some valuable coins look incredibly ordinary. That's what makes this hobby so fascinating. Treasure doesn't always sparkle. Sometimes it looks like a small copper coin sitting unnoticed in a drawer. So if you have a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, take a closer look. Check the condition. Look for unusual features. Examine the lettering and date. Study the color. Search for signs of mint errors. Because the difference between an ordinary penny and a valuable one could come down to details smaller than a grain of rice. And here's a question for you. Have you ever checked the old pennies hiding in your home? You might have inherited them from parents, grandparents, or relatives. You might have found them in a coin jar you've ignored for years. Take a look tonight. You never know what you might discover. One coin. One mistake. One rare survivor. That's all it takes to turn an overlooked piece of pocket change into something collectors desperately want. And that's why the hunt never ends. Collectors across America continue searching through rolls, collections, estate sales, flea markets, and forgotten boxes, hoping to uncover the next hidden treasure. Because sometimes the most valuable discoveries aren't made in museums or vaults. They're made at kitchen tables. They're made in garages. They're made when someone decides to look a little closer at a coin everyone else ignored. So before you spend another old wheat penny, check it carefully. That small copper coin could hold a surprising story, a rare error, or a hidden value that most people would miss. And if you enjoy uncovering hidden money secrets hiding in everyday coins, make sure to subscribe and keep exploring. The next rare coin we talk about could be sitting in your collection right now, waiting to be discovered.
Stop what you're doing and check your old pennies, because one small 1942 Lincoln wheat penny with a Denver mint mark could be hiding a life-changing surprise. Most people spend these coins without a second thought, but a few incredibly rare examples have sold for astonishing amounts of money. Could one be sitting in your coin jar right now? Stay with me, because the biggest mistake collectors make is assuming every 1942 penny is worth only 1 cent. If you've ever wondered whether an old penny could actually be valuable, you're in the right place. Today we're uncovering the secrets behind the 1942 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny, one of the most talked about coins among collectors. We'll look at what makes certain examples so special, the hidden details that separate ordinary coins from extraordinary ones, and why some collectors are willing to pay thousands, or even much more, for the right coin. And before this video ends, I'll tell you the specific features you need to check before you spend another old penny. At first glance, the 1942 Lincoln wheat penny doesn't look unusual. It features Abraham Lincoln on the front with the familiar, "In God We Trust," above his head, "Liberty," to the left, and the date with a tiny D mint mark beneath it. On the reverse, you'll find the famous wheat ears framing the words, 1 cent. Millions of Americans handled these coins during World War II, and most disappeared into circulation, piggy banks, and forgotten drawers. Here's where the mystery begins. Even though more than 200 million 1942 pennies were struck, not every coin survived in the same condition. Some circulated heavily for decades. Others were damaged, cleaned, or scratched. But a tiny number escaped with beautiful original surfaces, sharp details, and eye-catching color. Those are the coins collectors chase today. Now here's something many people don't know. Color can dramatically change the value of a 1942 wheat penny. Collectors generally describe copper coins as brown, or red. A full red coin still shows most of its original bright mint color. Since copper darkens over time, fully red examples are much harder to find than ordinary brown coins. Imagine two pennies made in the same year, at the same mint, with the same design. One is worth only a few cents. The other sells for hundreds or even thousands of dollars simply because it kept its original red shine for more than 80 years. That's how important condition can be. But don't stop checking yet. The real excitement starts when we talk about minting mistakes. Every coin is made using dies that strike the design into the metal blank. Sometimes those dies wear out, become damaged, or develop small cracks. Other times, the coin itself isn't struck correctly. Those tiny production mistakes can transform an ordinary penny into something collectors desperately want. Look carefully for doubled lettering. Check Lincoln's date, the word liberty, and in God we trust. If the letters or numbers appear doubled instead of crisp, the coin deserves a closer inspection. True doubled die coins are much scarcer than normal examples. Another feature to watch for is an off-center strike. If part of the design is missing because the blank wasn't properly centered during striking, the coin could carry a premium. The more dramatic the error, while still showing the full date, the more interest it usually attracts. Then there are die cracks and cut errors. These raised lines or blobs of metal may look like damage to beginners, but they're actually signs that the striking die was breaking apart. Certain die varieties become famous among collectors and can command impressive prices. Here's another detail that surprises many people. Some collectors spend years searching through rolls of pennies from banks, estate sales, flea markets, and inherited collections because rare coins often go unnoticed. Someone who isn't familiar with coin collecting may toss an old wheat penny into a jar without realizing that a small detail makes it far more valuable than face value. Imagine finding a dusty coffee can filled with old pennies in your grandparents' attic. Most people would see pocket change. A knowledgeable collector sees possibility. Now let's talk about grading. Professional grading services examine coins under magnification and assign a condition score. The higher the grade, the greater the potential value. Tiny differences matter. A coin with fewer marks, stronger luster, and better eye appeal can be worth many times more than another coin from the exact same year and mint. That's why experienced collectors never rush to clean an old coin. Cleaning may seem like a good idea, but it often destroys the original surface collectors want. A shiny cleaned coin is usually worth less than a naturally aged one. So if you think you found an interesting 1942 wheat penny, resist the temptation to polish it. Now for the question everyone has been waiting for. How much is a 1942 Lincoln wheat penny actually worth? Most circulated examples are common and usually sell for only a small premium over face value. Nice uncirculated coins can bring significantly more, especially if they retain original mint luster. High-grade certified red examples have sold for hundreds and, in exceptional cases, several $1,000s at major auctions. But you've probably heard stories claiming these pennies are worth $1 million. Here's the truth. There is no verified public auction record showing a regular 1942 Lincoln wheat penny selling for $1 million. Claims like that usually appear in viral posts or misleading videos designed to attract attention. However, truly extraordinary coins with unique characteristics, famous pedigrees, or one-of-a-kind mint errors can achieve astonishing prices in the coin market. That's why every unusual coin deserves careful examination instead of being dismissed. And here's something else to remember. Sometimes people confuse a normal 1942 penny with extremely rare transitional or error coins from other years. Those famous rarities have created huge headlines, leading many people to believe every old wheat penny is automatically worth a fortune. The reality is more complicated, but it's also more exciting because you never know when you'll discover an overlooked variety. So what should you check first? Start with the date. Make sure it clearly reads 1942. Next, look beneath the date for the small D mint mark. Then inspect both sides under good lighting. Search for doubling, off-center strikes, unusual cracks, or anything that looks different from a normal coin. After that, evaluate the overall condition. Are Lincoln's hair details sharp? Are the wheat stalks fully visible? Does the coin still have original red color? Every one of those details matters. If your coin looks unusual, compare it with reliable references and consider having it evaluated by a professional grading service before selling it. Here's the exciting part. People continue discovering valuable coins in ordinary places every year. Old family collections, forgotten piggy banks, estate sales, garage sales, and pocket change have all produced remarkable finds. Most discoveries don't make national headlines, but they remind collectors that hidden treasures still exist. Think about how many pennies have passed through your hands over the years. Hundreds. Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. It's easy to overlook a coin because it looks ordinary. But collectors know that tiny differences often separate a common coin from an exciting discovery. That's why patience pays off. The next time you come across a handful of weak pennies, don't rush through them. Slow down. Use a magnifying glass. Check every date. Look for mint marks. Examine the lettering. You might spot something others missed. And remember, knowledge is just as valuable as the coin itself. The more you learn about mint marks, grading, color, and mint errors, the better your chances of recognizing an important coin before someone else does. That's exactly how experienced collectors build incredible collections over time. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found a weak penny in your pocket change or inherited an old coin collection from a family member? Let everyone know in the comments what the oldest Lincoln penny you've ever found is. You never know, someone in this community might help identify an overlooked treasure. Before you spend another old penny, take one more careful look. That tiny copper coin could have a fascinating history, a collectible variety, or a surprising value that most people would never notice. Hidden treasures are still out there, waiting for someone curious enough to find them. If you enjoyed uncovering the secrets behind the 1942 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny, make sure you subscribe for more videos revealing rare coins, valuable mint errors, and hidden money hiding in everyday pocket change. The next incredible discovery could already be sitting in your collection, and I don't want you to miss it.
The biggest mistake you could make today is spending a plain-looking 1946 Lincoln wheat penny without checking it first. One tiny copper coin could be worth far more than 1 cent, and a few rare examples have shocked collectors with incredible prices. Before you spend another penny, you need to know exactly what to look for. Most people think old pennies are only worth face value. They end up in jars, drawers, piggy banks, and even cash registers every single day. But hidden among millions of ordinary coins are a handful of rare treasures that collectors dream about. And one of the most talked about coins is the 1946 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark. Now, before we go any further, here's something many people don't know. A 1946 penny without a mint mark is actually the normal version made at the Philadelphia Mint. That means simply having no mint mark does not automatically make your coin valuable. But don't click away yet, because the real story begins with the tiny details almost everyone misses. Imagine cleaning out an old coffee can full of coins from your grandparents' house. You spot a worn brown penny dated 1946. At first glance it looks ordinary. You almost toss it aside. But then you notice something unusual. The lettering looks different. The strike seems stronger. Maybe there's a strange mark you can't explain. Suddenly that 1 cent coin becomes a mystery worth investigating. That's exactly how many valuable coin discoveries begin. The year 1946 was a special time in American history. World War II had just ended. Soldiers were returning home, and America was entering a new chapter. The U.S. Mint returned to making Lincoln cents using their normal bronze composition after the wartime steel cents of 1943. Millions of these wheat pennies entered circulation, and they became part of everyday American life. Because so many were produced, most 1946 pennies are common. If they're heavily circulated, they're usually worth only a few cents. Even nice examples may only sell for a small premium. So why are collectors constantly searching for them? Because every once in a while, something extraordinary appears. Maybe it's an unusual mint error. Maybe it's an exceptionally preserved example. Maybe it's a rare variety that escaped into circulation decades ago. Those are the coins that can turn an ordinary penny into something collectors compete for. Let's start with condition. Condition is everything in coin collecting. Two pennies with the exact same date can have completely different values depending on how well they've survived over the last 80 years. A heavily worn coin with scratches, corrosion, or damage may only be worth a few cents. But a coin that somehow escapes circulation and still shows bright original luster can command dramatically higher prices. Collectors use grading systems to determine quality, and the highest grades are incredibly difficult to find. Think about it. How many pennies survive for generations without being spent, dropped, scratched, or damaged? Very few. That's why top-grade examples become so desirable. Now here's where things become even more interesting. Some 1946 pennies contain mint errors that make collectors pay serious money. One example is an off-center strike. This happens when the blank coin isn't perfectly aligned during production. Part of the design may be missing, creating an unusual appearance. If the date remains visible while the strike is dramatically off-center, collectors often find these coins especially appealing. Another possibility is a broad strike error. Without the collar holding the coin in place during striking, the penny spreads outward and looks wider than normal. These unusual mistakes are immediately noticeable. Then there are clipped planchets. Imagine a coin missing a curved section because the blank was improperly cut before striking. These distinctive errors are popular with collectors because they clearly show something went wrong during production. But we're still not finished. Double strikes can also occur. In these cases, the coin is struck more than once, leaving overlapping images that create an incredible appearance. Depending on how dramatic the error is, values can increase significantly. Now take a close look at the lettering. Does Liberty appear doubled? Does In God We Trust look unusual? Is the date showing signs of doubling? Some forms of doubling are simply machine doubling and carry little premium. But genuine double dies are highly collectible. Learning the difference could save you from overlooking an important coin. Here's another detail most people ignore. Color. Yes, color. Lincoln wheat pennies are generally classified as brown, red-brown, or red. A bright red coin with original mint color is much scarcer than a dark brown example because copper naturally changes over time. That brilliant original color can make an enormous difference in value when combined with a high grade. Now let's talk about the number everyone wants to hear. How much can a 1946 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark actually be worth? An ordinary circulated example might only bring a few cents to $1. A nicer uncirculated example could sell for several dollars or even much more depending on quality. High-grade certified examples with outstanding eye appeal have sold for hundreds and even thousands of dollars at auction. And spectacular mint errors can sometimes reach astonishing prices because every error is unique. But here's the part where many videos on the internet become misleading. You may have seen headlines claiming a regular 1946 no-mint mark wheat penny is worth $1 million. The truth is that there is no verified record of a normal 1946 Philadelphia wheat penny selling for anywhere near $1 million simply because it has no mint mark. Million-dollar headlines usually combine extremely rare circumstances, famous collections, unique mint errors, or exaggerated claims designed to attract attention. Real collectors focus on facts. That doesn't mean your coin isn't valuable. It simply means the value depends on its actual condition, rarity, and any genuine mint errors, not just the date alone. And honestly, that's what makes coin collecting so exciting. Every coin tells a story. Every scratch, every detail, every tiny imperfection can change its value. Sometimes the smallest difference separates a 1-cent coin from a collector's prize. Here's another question. Have you ever checked the edge of your penny? Most people never do. Damage around the rim can lower value, but unusual striking problems around the edge may actually increase collector interest. What about the surfaces? Natural aging is acceptable. Harsh cleaning is not. In fact, cleaning an old coin is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. A shiny cleaned coin often sells for less than an untouched original coin because collectors value originality. If you believe you've found something unusual, resist the urge to polish it. Leave it exactly as you found it. That single decision could preserve hundreds or even thousands of dollars in potential value. Now imagine opening an old family coin album. Page after page of wheat pennies. You slowly flip through them. Then suddenly, no mint mark. Sharp details. Beautiful color. Could it be one of the finest examples surviving today? You'll never know unless you look carefully. This is why experienced collectors inspect every coin individually instead of assuming they're all the same. Because every collection has surprises. Sometimes they're small. Sometimes they're unforgettable. And every year, people discover valuable coins they had overlooked for decades. The next time you receive change at a grocery store, visit a flea market, search an estate sale, or inherit an old coin collection, don't rush. Take a closer look. Read the date carefully. Check for unusual features. Compare the lettering. Look for doubling. Inspect the strike. Notice the color. Examine the surfaces. Tiny details create big differences. And that's exactly why collectors love Lincoln wheat pennies. They're affordable enough for beginners, fascinating enough for experts, and filled with hidden stories waiting to be discovered. So now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found a 1946 Lincoln wheat penny in your pocket change or inherited one from a family member? Do you think you might have a rare error coin hiding in your collection? Let everyone know in the comments because your discovery could help another collector know what to look for. And remember, today's ordinary-looking penny could become tomorrow's exciting discovery. The next valuable coin might already be sitting in a forgotten jar, tucked inside an old wallet, or hiding at the bottom of a coin roll waiting for someone curious enough to notice it. Keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate what a single penny could teach you about history, or what it could be worth. If you enjoy uncovering hidden treasures, subscribe and join us for more amazing rare coin discoveries, valuable Lincoln pennies, and forgotten pieces of American history that could be hiding in plain sight.
What if the next penny you find is worth more than a luxury mansion? It sounds unbelievable, but one tiny 1950 Lincoln wheat penny could be hiding in an old jar, a forgotten piggy bank, or even in your pocket change. And today, you'll discover why collectors are willing to pay astonishing amounts of money for certain versions of this famous coin. Before you spend another old penny, you need to watch until the very end because one small detail could completely change its value. Most people think every penny is worth exactly 1 cent. That's the biggest mistake anyone can make. Across America, valuable coins are accidentally spent every single day because people don't know what they're holding. Imagine buying a cup of coffee with a coin that could have paid for a new car instead. It happens more often than you think. The 1950 Lincoln wheat penny has become one of the most talked about coins among collectors, but here's the twist. Most examples are only worth a small premium. The real treasures are the rare error coins and extraordinary high-grade examples that almost nobody recognizes. So, what makes this little copper coin so special? Let's go back to 1950. America was entering a new decade. Families were growing, businesses were booming, and millions of pennies rolled off the presses every single day. At the Denver Mint, workers produced huge numbers of Lincoln wheat pennies with the small D mint mark beneath the date. They looked ordinary then, and most people spent them without a second thought. But something unexpected happened. Among the millions of normal coins, a tiny number were struck with unusual characteristics that would eventually make collectors go crazy decades later. The first thing you should check is the condition. This surprises many people. Two identical 1950 pennies can have completely different values simply because one stayed in perfect condition while the other circulated for years. Imagine finding two old baseball cards. One has bent corners, stains, and scratches. The other looks brand new. The same idea applies to coins. A heavily worn 1950 wheat penny might only be worth a few cents or a few dollars. But a brilliant, untouched example with blazing original mint luster can suddenly become worth hundreds, sometimes thousands. And we're only getting started. Now flip the coin over. Look closely at the wheat ears. Do they show every tiny line? Are the grains sharp? Can you clearly see all the details? Collectors pay enormous premiums for coins that still have crisp designs because they prove the coin avoided years of heavy circulation. Here's another detail many people completely miss. The color. Copper changes over time. Some pennies turn dark brown. Others become reddish brown. But the most desirable examples still have their original bright red color from the day they left the mint. Those brilliant red coins are incredibly difficult to find after more than 70 years. That's why grading companies often assign huge premiums to beautiful red examples. Now here's where things become really exciting. Errors. Coin errors are like winning the lottery without buying another ticket. Most people never notice them. But experienced collectors know exactly what to look for. One valuable possibility is an off-center strike. Instead of the design appearing perfectly centered, part of it shifts dramatically to one side. Depending on how dramatic the error is and whether the date remains visible, values can increase dramatically. Then there are die cracks. These raised lines appear because the metal die begins breaking after striking thousands of coins. Some collectors actively hunt for dramatic die cracks because they make every coin unique. But that's not all. Die chips can create strange raised blobs in unexpected places. These unusual imperfections may look like damage to beginners, but knowledgeable collectors often recognize them as genuine mint errors. Another possibility is a repunched mint mark. During that era, mint marks were punched into the die by hand. Sometimes the mint mark was accidentally punched more than once, leaving extra outlines around the letter. If authenticated, these varieties can command impressive prices. Now imagine finding one of those by accident. Pretty exciting, isn't it? But wait. There's another hidden secret. Some collectors search for doubled features. Look carefully at the date. Study the letters in Liberty. Inspect "In God We Trust." If you notice clear doubling created during the die-making process, not damage from circulation, you may have discovered something much more valuable than an ordinary penny. This is why experts recommend using a magnifying glass. Tiny details can mean the difference between $1 and thousands. Now let's talk about grading. This is where values can explode. Professional grading companies examine every tiny mark, scratch, and detail under powerful magnification. A coin graded mint state 63 might sell for a respectable amount. A mint state 65 could sell for much more. Then something incredible happens. Once you reach superb gem grades like MS67 or higher, prices often jump dramatically because almost no examples survive in such extraordinary condition. Collectors compete fiercely for the very best. That's simple supply and demand. Thousands of people want the finest coins. Only a handful exist. Now imagine discovering one in your grandfather's coin collection. That's the dream every collector hopes becomes reality. You've probably seen headlines claiming a penny sold for hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Here's something important to understand. The average 1950 Lincoln wheat penny is not worth millions. Those massive prices are usually connected to extraordinarily rare circumstances, such as unique mint errors, elite certified grades, famous auction pedigrees, or one-of-a-kind varieties that collectors battle over. That's why authentication matters. Never assume. Always verify. Even if your coin looks unusual, having it professionally examined can reveal details invisible to the naked eye. Many life-changing discoveries happen because someone decided to ask an expert instead of tossing an old coin into a jar. Think about that for a second. How many old pennies are sitting in drawers across America right now? How many collections haven't been opened in decades? How many people inherited coins without ever checking what they actually own? The next amazing discovery could happen anywhere. Maybe it's in an old coffee can. Maybe it's inside a dusty attic box. Maybe it's mixed with everyday pocket change. Every year, collectors continue making incredible finds because they took a few extra seconds to look carefully. Now here's a quick checklist. First, confirm the date says 1950. Next, look below the date for the D mint mark. Then inspect both sides for strong detail. Check whether the coin still has bright original red color. Look carefully for doubling, die cracks, die chips, repunched mint marks, or off-center strikes. Finally, consider the overall condition. The fewer marks you see, the greater the potential value. Simple steps. Potentially huge rewards. Here's another fascinating fact. Many people clean old coins because they think shiny means valuable. Unfortunately, cleaning usually does exactly the opposite. It leaves tiny scratches that professionals immediately recognize. A cleaned coin often sells for far less than an untouched example. So if you think you found something special, resist the urge to polish it. Leave it exactly as you found it. That decision alone could preserve significant value. Imagine showing your coin to a dealer. At first, they glance at it casually. Then suddenly they stop talking. They reach for a magnifier. Their eyes get wider. Now they're checking reference books. Moments like that have happened before. And they could happen again. This is exactly why coin collecting remains one of America's most exciting hobbies. Every coin tells a story. Every collection holds mysteries. Every old penny offers the possibility, however small, of an extraordinary discovery. Whether your 1950 Lincoln wheat penny ends up being worth $1, $100, several $1,000s, or far more because of an exceptional certified error or remarkable condition, the only way to know is to inspect it carefully and have valuable-looking examples authenticated. So before you spend another old wheat penny, take one more look. Examine every letter. Study every number. Check every tiny detail. Because the smallest difference can create the biggest surprise. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found an old wheat penny in pocket change, inherited a coin collection, or discovered something unusual that made you wonder if it was valuable? Let everyone know in the comments because your story might inspire someone else to check their own coins. And if you enjoy uncovering hidden treasures, forgotten collectibles, and rare coins that could be worth far more than their face value, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. You never know which everyday coin will uncover next, and the next incredible discovery could already be sitting in your pocket right now. Before you spend another old penny, stop. One ordinary-looking 1952 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark could be hiding a secret that collectors dream about. Some rare examples have sold for astonishing amounts, and the next one could be sitting in an old jar, a family collection, or even your pocket change. Don't assume every penny is only worth 1 cent, because this story might completely change the way you look at your coins. Most people never think twice about a penny. They toss it into a cup holder, drop it into a tip jar, or leave it forgotten in a drawer for years. But hidden among millions of common coins are a few extraordinary pieces that have shocked the coin collecting world. The 1952 Lincoln wheat penny is one of those coins that deserves a much closer look. Today, we're uncovering why this seemingly ordinary coin has become one of the most searched wheat pennies among collectors, what makes certain examples incredibly valuable, the rare errors that can send prices soaring, and the truth about whether one could actually be worth life-changing money. Make sure you stay until the end because one tiny detail most people ignore could be the difference between a 1-cent coin and a collector's treasure. Let's start with the basics. The Lincoln wheat penny was first introduced in 1909 to celebrate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. It was the first regular U.S. coin to feature the portrait of a real person. On the back, 2 wheat stalks surrounded the words, 1 cent, giving collectors the famous nickname, wheat penny. By 1952, these pennies were being produced in huge numbers. The Philadelphia Mint struck more than 186 million Lincoln cents that year. Unlike Denver and San Francisco coins, Philadelphia coins during that time usually did not carry a mint mark. That means if your 1952 wheat penny has no letter beneath the date, it was struck in Philadelphia. At first glance, that might sound common, and honestly, most of them are. Millions still exist today. But here's where things get interesting. Not every 1952 no-mint mark penny is created equal. Some escaped the mint with unusual mistakes that collectors absolutely love. Others survived in nearly perfect condition for decades. A few combine incredible preservation with rare mint errors, creating coins that are worth hundreds, thousands, and in exceptional situations, much more. Imagine opening an old coin album passed down through your family. You flip through the pages, expecting nothing special. Then you spot a bright red 1952 wheat penny with no mint mark. It looks almost brand new. Could it really be valuable? The answer depends on several important details. The first thing collectors examine is the coin's condition. Most 1952 pennies circulated for years. They were used to buy candy, newspapers, bus rides, and groceries. Every trip through someone's pocket added scratches, wear, and damage. As a result, finding one in pristine condition today is surprisingly difficult. Professional grading services use a numerical scale from 1 to 70. The closer a coin is to 70, the better its condition. A heavily worn 1952 penny may only be worth a few cents. But a coin graded mint state 66 or higher can suddenly become far more desirable. Now here's something even more exciting. Collectors pay extra for copper coins that still have their original bright red color. These are known as red examples because they haven't turned brown from decades of oxidation. Most old copper coins eventually darken over time, making fully red specimens much scarcer. That means two identical 1952 pennies can have dramatically different values simply because one stayed bright while the other turned brown. But condition is only part of the story. Now let's talk about mint errors. Mint errors happen when something goes wrong during the manufacturing process. Instead of making a coin worthless, certain mistakes actually make it far more valuable because they are rare and impossible to duplicate exactly. One error collectors search for is a double die. This occurs when the design is impressed into the die more than once at slightly different angles. The result can be doubling on the date, lettering, or Lincoln's features. Strong double dies are extremely collectible because they can easily be seen without powerful equipment. Another valuable possibility is an off-center strike. Imagine the blank coin wasn't perfectly lined up when it was struck. Part of the design ends up missing while the rest is shifted toward one side. The more dramatic the off-center strike, while still showing the full date, the more collectors often want it. Then there are clipped planchets. These coins were cut incorrectly before striking, leaving part of the edge missing in a curved shape. At first, someone unfamiliar with error coins might think the coin is damaged. An experienced collector sees something completely different. There are also die cracks, die breaks, cuds, broad strikes, and repunched design elements that can make an otherwise ordinary penny much more interesting. Here's something many people don't realize. Sometimes a tiny error barely visible to the naked eye can increase a coin's value dramatically. That's why experts recommend never cleaning an old coin before having it evaluated. Cleaning is one of the biggest mistakes beginners make. It sounds logical. A shiny coin should be worth more, right? Actually, the opposite is usually true. Cleaning scratches the surface and removes the natural appearance collectors expect to see. Even gentle polishing can permanently reduce a coin's value. A professionally graded coin with original surfaces will almost always outperform a cleaned example. Now let's answer the question everyone has been waiting for. How much is a 1952 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark actually worth? Most circulated examples are generally worth only a small premium over face value, often anywhere from a few cents to a few dollars depending on condition. Coins in attractive uncirculated condition can sell for tens or even hundreds of dollars. Exceptional certified examples with outstanding grades have sold for several $100s, and in some cases over $1,000 when they combine exceptional quality with strong collector demand. But what about the $1,000,000 claim? Here's the truth. A standard 1952 no mint mark wheat penny is not known to sell for $1 million simply because of its date. However, the coin collecting world has repeatedly proven that extremely rare mint errors, unique varieties, or one-of-a-kind discoveries can command astonishing prices. If an undiscovered major error or an extraordinary specimen were ever found, it could become one of the most important Lincoln cents known. That's why collectors continue searching through old collections every single day. History has shown that incredible discoveries still happen. Coins once overlooked have later been identified as major rarities after closer examination. Families have inherited collections without realizing what was inside. Estate sales, garage sales, and forgotten coin jars have all produced valuable finds. So the possibility of discovering something special keeps the hunt alive. Now imagine finding a roll of old wheat pennies in your grandfather's toolbox. You slowly separate them one by one. Then suddenly, no mint mark. Beautiful detail. Bright original color. Could this be the one? Before making any decisions, resist the temptation to clean it or spend it. Instead, compare it carefully with images of known varieties. Look closely at the lettering, the date, Lincoln's portrait, and the overall strike quality. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. If something looks unusual, consider having it authenticated by a professional grading service. That small step could make an enormous difference. Remember, collectors don't just pay for old coins. They pay for rarity. They pay for originality. They pay for outstanding condition. And most importantly, they pay for coins that stand apart from the millions of ordinary examples. That's exactly why knowledge is so valuable in this hobby. The average person might see only an old penny. A knowledgeable collector might see a hidden opportunity. So before you ignore another wheat penny, take one more look. Check the date. Check for the missing mint mark. Examine the condition. Look for unusual doubling, off-center strikes, clipped edges, die cracks, or anything that seems different from normal. You never know what might be hiding in plain sight. Now I'm curious. Have you ever found a wheat penny in your pocket change, inherited a coin collection, or discovered an old jar filled with pennies? Let everyone know in the comments because your story might inspire someone else to check their own coins today. And while you're at it, go through those old piggy banks, coin albums, dresser drawers, and family keepsakes. Some of the most exciting discoveries happen when people least expect them. If you enjoyed uncovering the hidden story behind the 1952 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark, make sure you don't miss the next rare coin we reveal. There are still countless pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters hiding incredible secrets that most people overlook every day. Subscribe for more hidden money secrets, because your next coin could be worth far more than you ever imagined. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and always check your change before you spend it.
Stop what you're doing and check every old penny you have right now. Because one ordinary-looking 1953 Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark could be hiding a secret that collectors dream about. Most people spend these coins without a second thought, but the right one could be worth far more than its face value. And before this video ends, you'll know exactly what separates a common penny from one that could bring an incredible payday. Imagine opening an old jar of coins that's been sitting on a shelf for years. You dump the pennies onto the table, expecting nothing more than loose change. Then you notice a wheat penny dated 1953. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Abraham Lincoln is on the front. 2 wheat stalks are on the back. There's no mint mark under the date. Most people would toss it into a coin roll and move on. But experienced collectors don't. They stop. They look closer. They check every tiny detail because sometimes the biggest treasures are hiding in the smallest differences. The 1953 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. Back then, Philadelphia coins usually didn't carry a mint mark, so seeing no letter under the date is completely normal. Millions of these pennies were produced, which means most examples are only worth a few cents to a few dollars. So why does this coin get collectors excited? Because not every 1953 penny is created equal. Some examples survived in nearly perfect condition, looking almost as fresh as the day they left the mint. Others were struck with unusual errors that make them incredibly desirable. Those are the coins serious collectors hunt for every single day. Here's where things get interesting. Many people think old automatically means valuable. That's not true. Age alone doesn't create value. Rarity, condition, demand, and unique minting mistakes are what can send prices soaring. Now take a close look at Lincoln's portrait. Does the coin still have its original bright luster? Can you see tiny details in Lincoln's hair? Are the wheat lines on the reverse sharp and complete? If the answer is yes, you might have something much better than average. Professional grading services use a scale from 1 to 70. The closer a coin gets to mint state 65, 66, 67, or even higher, the more valuable it becomes. Tiny scratches, fingerprints, or cleaning marks can dramatically reduce value. That's why two pennies from the exact same year can have completely different prices. One sells for $1, another sells for hundreds, and occasionally one reaches thousands. Now here's something most people never notice. During the minting process, massive steel dies strike blank copper planchets with tremendous pressure. If anything goes wrong during that process, unusual errors can occur. Those errors are where the real excitement begins. One of the most famous is the double die effect. This happens when parts of the design appear doubled because of a mistake during die creation. Look closely at the date, the word liberty, and the motto "I in God we trust." If the letters appear clearly doubled instead of blurry from wear, collectors immediately pay attention. Another valuable possibility is an off-center strike. Imagine the blank planchet wasn't perfectly aligned when it was struck. Part of the design may be missing while the remaining details are shifted dramatically toward one side. The more dramatic the error while still showing the date, the greater the collector interest. Then there are die cracks. These raised lines formed when the steel die began to crack after repeated use. Some are tiny and common. Others create dramatic features collectors love. Next come die breaks and cuds. These happen when part of the die actually breaks away, leaving a raised blob of metal on the finished coin. To an inexperienced eye, it may look like damage. To a knowledgeable collector, it could mean extra value. But we're not finished yet. Some collectors also search for repunched mint marks on other years, clipped planchets, broad strikes, and other fascinating production mistakes. While a Philadelphia coin has no mint mark, other unusual striking errors can still appear and become highly collectible. Now let's talk about color. Believe it or not, the color of your penny matters. Collectors generally classify copper coins into three categories: brown, red-brown, and red. Brown coins have mostly darkened from decades of exposure. Red-brown coins still retain a mixture of original mint color. But full red coins are the stars. These still display most of their original bright copper appearance. A beautiful 1953 no-mint mark wheat penny with full original red color and outstanding preservation can command dramatically higher prices than an ordinary brown example. This is why collectors always recommend never polishing old coins. Cleaning removes the original surface that collectors want to see. Many beginners believe cleaning increases value. Unfortunately, it usually does the exact opposite. A professionally graded original coin almost always attracts more interest than a shiny cleaned one. Now let's reveal something surprising. Every year, people unknowingly spend collectible coins. Some end up in vending machines. Some disappear into cash registers. Others get mixed into bank rolls. That means valuable discoveries are still possible. Collectors regularly search bank boxes, estate sales, inherited collections, flea markets, and old piggy banks hoping to find hidden treasures before someone else does. And sometimes they succeed. Imagine finding a penny worth hundreds of dollars while buying groceries. It sounds unbelievable, but that's exactly why coin collecting continues to grow. The thrill isn't only about money. It's about discovery. Every coin tells a story. Your 1953 wheat penny may have traveled through thousands of hands over more than 70 years. It may have bought candy, gasoline, movie tickets, school lunches. Now it could become the centerpiece of someone's collection. So how much is a normal 1953 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark actually worth? A heavily circulated example usually sells for only a small premium over face value, often anywhere from a few cents to a few dollars depending on condition. A nice uncirculated coin may sell for several dollars, sometimes even tens of dollars. Exceptional certified mint state examples with strong eye appeal can sell for hundreds and, in some cases, well over $1,000 depending on grade, color, and market demand. And what about the dream everyone wants to hear? The famous $1 million penny. Here's the truth. There is no verified evidence that a regular 1953 Philadelphia Lincoln wheat penny with no mint mark has sold for $1 million. However, extremely rare coins with extraordinary mint errors, unique characteristics, or historically significant varieties from other dates have reached astonishing prices at major auctions. That's why every unusual coin deserves a careful inspection before assuming it's ordinary. That doesn't mean your penny isn't important. Far from it. If your coin has an unusual error, exceptional condition, blazing original red color, or another rare feature, it could still be worth far more than most people would ever imagine. The key is knowing what to look for before you spend it. Use a magnifying glass. Compare your coin with trusted reference images. Check for doubling. Inspect the edges. Look for unusual strike errors. Pay attention to color. Never clean the coin. If you truly believe you've found something special, consider having it authenticated and professionally graded. That small step could make all the difference. Here's a question for you. Have you ever found an old wheat penny in your pocket change, an inherited collection, or a forgotten coin jar? Take another look. You never know what you've been carrying around all these years. One tiny detail could completely change the story. The next incredible coin discovery might already be sitting in your home, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice it. So before you spend another old penny, check the date. Look for those wheat stalks. Examine every detail carefully because hidden value often appears where nobody expects it. And if you enjoy uncovering forgotten coins, surprising mint errors, and fascinating stories behind America's pocket change, make sure you subscribe and join us for more hidden money secrets. Your next life-changing discovery could be just one coin away. What if the next penny you find is worth more than a luxury mansion? It sounds impossible, but one tiny 1957 Lincoln wheat penny with a Denver mint mark has collectors searching through old jars, piggy banks, and family coin collections every single day. And before you spend another penny, you need to know why. The coin sitting in your pocket right now could be hiding a secret that almost nobody notices. Most people think every old penny is valuable. That's simply not true. Millions of 1957 Lincoln wheat pennies were made, and most are only worth a few cents. But here's where things get exciting. A few extremely rare examples have unusual features, minting mistakes, or incredible condition that can send their value skyrocketing. That's exactly why collectors never stop checking these coins. Imagine cleaning out your grandparents' attic. You find an old coffee can filled with pennies that hasn't been touched in decades. At first glance, they all look the same. You almost toss them into a coin-counting machine. But then one date catches your eye, 1957. Under the date, you see a tiny letter D. Suddenly, what looked like ordinary pocket change becomes something worth investigating. The Lincoln wheat penny is one of America's most loved coins. The wheat ears on the reverse were produced from 1909 through 1958, making 1957 one of the final years before the design changed forever. That alone makes these pennies popular with collectors. But popularity isn't what creates huge value. Rarity does. Here's where many people make a costly mistake. They see a 1957 wheat penny online with an asking price of thousands or even millions of dollars and immediately believe every coin with that date is valuable. That's not how coin collecting works. Condition, authenticity, and rare mint errors are what separate an ordinary penny from a life-changing discovery. So what should you actually look for? First, examine the date carefully. Make sure it clearly reads 1957 and has the small D mint mark below it. That D tells you it was struck at the Denver Mint. Then look at Lincoln's portrait. Is every detail sharp? Can you see the fine lines in his hair? Are the letters bold and crisp? Coins with almost no wear are much harder to find because most spent decades circulating from one pocket to another. But don't stop there. Now flip the coin over. Look closely at the wheat stalks. Are the grain lines complete? Can you read 1 cent and United States of America clearly? Sharp details usually mean the coin has been preserved much better than average. Now here's where the mystery gets even bigger. Some 1957 wheat pennies were struck with minting errors. These mistakes happened during production and were never supposed to leave the mint. Yet somehow a few escaped into circulation. Today, collectors are willing to pay enormous premiums for genuine examples. One of the most exciting possibilities is a dramatic die error. This can create doubled letters, unusual shapes, or other striking features that immediately stand out to experienced collectors. Another possibility is an off-center strike, where part of the design is missing because the blank planchet wasn't positioned correctly. These mistakes are incredibly fascinating because no two error coins are exactly alike. And here's something many beginners never realize. Never try to clean an old coin. It might seem like you're making it look better, but cleaning almost always lowers its value. Collectors want original surfaces, even if they appear dark or toned with age. A cleaned coin can lose a significant portion of its collector appeal in seconds. Now let's talk about condition, because this is where things become really interesting. Imagine two identical 1957 wheat pennies. One spent decades bouncing around in pockets, cash registers, and vending machines. The other sat untouched in a coin album since the day it was made. They have the same date, the same mint mark, the same design. But one could be worth only a few cents, while the other might sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars because of its exceptional preservation. That's why professional grading matters so much in the coin market. Collectors use grading services to verify authenticity and evaluate condition. Tiny differences that most people never notice can dramatically affect the final price. Now comes the question everyone has been waiting for. Could a 1957 Lincoln wheat penny really be worth $1 million? Here's the truth. A normal circulated 1957 wheat penny is usually worth only a small amount above face value. Even attractive uncirculated examples often sell for modest prices. However, the rarest known specimens with extraordinary mint errors, unique characteristics, or exceptional historical significance can reach astonishing prices at major auctions. Headlines sometimes exaggerate values, but the highest prices are reserved for truly one-of-a-kind coins that are authenticated by experts. That's exactly why collectors continue searching. Because nobody knows where the next amazing discovery will appear. Think about it. Every day, old coin collections are inherited. Old jars are opened. Estate sales happen. Boxes sitting in garages for decades are finally explored. Hidden among thousands of ordinary pennies could be one extraordinary coin waiting for someone who knows what to look for. Here's another detail that surprises many people. The original bright red color of a copper penny can make a huge difference. Collectors classify copper coins by color. Bright red examples are generally much scarcer than brown ones because copper naturally darkens over time. A beautiful red 1957 wheat penny with almost no wear is much harder to find than most people realize. Now imagine finding one with an unusual mint error as well. That's when excitement in the collecting community really begins. Auction bidding can become intense because advanced collectors compete fiercely for the finest known examples. But remember this. Never assume your coin is valuable just because someone online claims every 1957 penny is worth millions. Many social media posts use eye-catching titles that don't explain the full story. Always compare your coin carefully and seek opinions from trusted coin experts before making any decisions. Here's another interesting fact. Some collectors spend years searching through thousands of wheat pennies hoping to find just one exceptional example. Most never do. Yet every once in a while, someone discovers an overlooked treasure in an old family collection. That's what keeps the hunt alive. It's not just about money. It's about the excitement of discovery. The possibility that history is hiding in plain sight. The thrill of holding a coin that traveled through America nearly 70 years ago. Think about where your own pennies came from. Maybe your grandparents saved them. Maybe an old relative collected coins without realizing what they had. Maybe there's a forgotten jar in your house waiting to be opened. Wouldn't it be amazing if one tiny coin changed everything? So before you spend another wheat penny, take a closer look. Check the date. Look for the mint mark. Study every letter. Examine both sides under good lighting. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. You might notice something everyone else missed. And even if your coin isn't worth thousands, you've learned something valuable about American history and the fascinating world of coin collecting. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever found an old wheat penny in your pocket change or inherited a collection from a family member? What's the oldest penny you've ever discovered? Share your answer in the comments because your story might inspire someone else to start checking their own coins. Remember, every incredible coin discovery started with someone taking one extra look instead of spending it. The next rare find could be hiding in a coin jar, a cash drawer, or even the loose change sitting on your dresser right now. So keep searching, stay curious, and never underestimate the value of a single penny. If you enjoy uncovering hidden treasures, rare coins, and incredible stories behind everyday pocket change. Make sure to subscribe and join us for more fascinating discoveries. You never know which ordinary-looking coin could become tomorrow's unforgettable collector's prize.
The 1958 Denver Lincoln wheat penny sitting in a forgotten jar, old piggy bank, or family coin collection could be hiding a secret that almost nobody knows. Some collectors have paid astonishing amounts for extremely rare versions, and one tiny detail could turn an ordinary-looking penny into the find of a lifetime. Before you spend another old wheat penny, you need to hear this. Most people think every old penny is worth just 1 cent. They toss them into change jars, leave them in drawers, or spend them without a second thought. But that's exactly why valuable coins continue to slip through people's fingers every single day. Today we're talking about the famous 1958 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary penny. Lincoln's portrait is on the front, the classic wheat ears are on the back, and the small D under the date tells us it was struck at the Denver Mint. Nothing seems unusual. But here's where things get interesting. Not every 1958 D wheat penny is valuable. In fact, millions were produced. If you have a normal circulated example, it's usually worth only a few cents to a few dollars, depending on its condition. So why are collectors searching for this coin? Because hidden among the millions are extremely rare era coins and exceptional condition examples that can be worth thousands of dollars, and in very unusual circumstances, certain rare Lincoln pennies from 1958 have reached extraordinary prices at auction. The biggest mistake people make is assuming every old penny is the same. It isn't. Tiny differences created during the minting process can completely change a coin's value. Imagine 2 pennies sitting side by side. One buys almost nothing. The other could pay for a new car. The difference might be so small that you'd never notice it without taking a closer look. That's why experienced collectors inspect every single old penny they find. Let's start with the basics. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of Lincoln wheat pennies in 1958. Because production numbers were so high, finding a regular example isn't difficult. But condition changes everything. A 1958 D penny that never entered circulation, with blazing original red color and almost no marks, becomes much harder to find. Why? Because pennies were made to be spent. They bounced around cash registers, pockets, vending machines, and piggy banks. Every scratch, every nick, and every year of circulation reduced the number of perfect survivors. Today, collectors compete fiercely for the finest known examples. Professional grading services carefully examine these coins under magnification. They assign numerical grades based on preservation. As the grade climbs higher, the value often rises dramatically. Now here's something many people never check. Look closely at the mint mark. Is the D clear? Is it damaged? Does anything look unusual? Sometimes the minting equipment developed problems. Dies cracked. Metal shifted. Letters appeared doubled. Parts of the design became weak or distorted. Those manufacturing mistakes created collectible varieties. And collectors absolutely love genuine mint errors. Another detail worth checking is the date itself. Use a magnifying glass. Do the numbers appear doubled? Are there strange raised lines? Does anything seem different from an ordinary coin? Many valuable coins have been discovered because someone took just 30 extra seconds to inspect them carefully. Now here's where the story becomes even more fascinating. The final year of the Lincoln wheat penny design was 1958. Beginning in 1959, the reverse changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial. That means 1958 marked the end of an era. Collectors often enjoy owning coins from the first year of a design and the last year of a design. That historical importance gives the 1958 wheat penny extra appeal. But there's another mystery. Every so often, stories spread across the internet claiming that a 1958 D wheat penny is worth $1 million. Is that really true? The answer is more complicated than most headlines suggest. A normal 1958 D wheat penny is not worth anywhere near $1 million. However, some incredibly rare Lincoln penny errors from this period have sold for astonishing prices because they are unique or nearly unique. The most famous example connected to 1958 is the legendary 1958 double-die obverse Lincoln wheat penny. That variety is incredibly rare and highly sought after by collectors. It is different from the ordinary 1958 D penny and has become one of the most famous error coins in American numismatic history. That's why so many people become confused. They hear about a record-breaking sale. Then they assume every 1958 penny is worth a fortune. But that's not how coin collecting works. The smallest detail can completely change everything. Think of it like baseball cards. Two cards may look almost identical. One is common. The other has a printing mistake that makes it incredibly valuable. Coins work the same way. Now let's talk about condition again because this surprises almost everyone. Imagine two identical 1958 D wheat pennies. One spent 60 years in circulation. The other sat untouched inside a coin roll since the day it left the mint. Even though they were struck from the same dies, the untouched coin could be worth many times more. That's why collectors handle valuable coins so carefully. Many even wear cotton gloves. Fingerprints can permanently damage the surface. Cleaning is another huge mistake. Thousands of people accidentally destroy coin value every year by polishing old pennies. A shiny cleaned coin might look better to the average person. But experienced collectors usually prefer natural surfaces. Cleaning leaves tiny scratches that experts can spot immediately. If you think you found something unusual, don't scrub it. Don't polish it. Don't use chemicals. Leave it exactly as you found it. That simple decision could protect its collector value. Here's another hidden clue. Pay attention to color. Lincoln cents are often described as brown, or red. Original bright red coins are usually much scarcer after several decades. If a coin has retained vibrant original mint color without artificial cleaning, collectors often pay much more for high-grade examples. Now imagine opening an old family coin jar. You dump hundreds of pennies onto a table. Most people would see nothing but spare change. A collector sees opportunity. Each coin tells a story. Each date matters. Each mint mark matters. Each tiny error could mean the difference between 1 cent and hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars. That's what makes coin hunting so exciting. You never know when the next incredible discovery will appear. Maybe it's hiding in a forgotten coin album. Maybe it's sitting inside your grandfather's toolbox. Maybe it's mixed into pocket change right now. People have discovered valuable coins in the most unexpected places. Estate sales. Garage sales. Bank rolls. Old coffee cans. Inherited collections. Even couch cushions. That's why experienced treasure hunters never stop looking. Now let's finally talk about value. A typical circulated 1958 D Lincoln wheat penny is usually worth only a small premium over face value. A beautiful uncirculated example can be worth significantly more, especially if professionally graded with outstanding preservation. Rare error varieties, dramatic mint mistakes, and top condition examples have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And the legendary 1958 double die variety, one of the rarest Lincoln cent errors ever discovered, has reached extraordinary auction prices because of its extreme rarity. That's the coin that sparked so many million-dollar rumors across the internet. So if you find a 1958 D wheat penny, don't assume you've become a millionaire overnight. But don't ignore it either. Take a careful look. Check the date. Inspect the mint mark. Look for doubling. Watch for unusual features. Examine the condition. If something appears different from ordinary examples, it may be worth having the coin evaluated by a reputable professional grading service or experienced coin dealer. That one careful inspection could make all the difference. Here's a question for you. Have you ever searched through your old pennies, or do you still have a jar of coins waiting to be checked? You might be surprised by what you discover. And remember, the biggest treasures are often the ones people overlook because they look ordinary at first glance. The next time someone hands you change, don't rush to spend those old pennies. Take a second look. History, rarity, and hidden value sometimes come wrapped in the smallest coin in your pocket. If you enjoy uncovering hidden money secrets and learning which everyday coins could be worth far more than their face value, make sure you subscribe and keep watching. Every week brings another fascinating coin with an incredible story, and your next amazing discovery could be sitting just inches away, waiting to be found.